Good morning, good morning, good morning. Eric Worre here. How are you? I want to talk with you today about something I think is really important. I've been thinking about it a lot over the course of the last several days. We live in a very crazy, wild, amazing, interesting time. And many of us will be telling our grandkids about this moment in history. And to explain what I'm talking about today, I need to tell you a little bit about my early history in life. I struggled. I struggled in school, and I struggled as a student. I struggled as a worker, working for other people. And one of my top attributes, one of the best things I was good at, was being a professional blamer. I was so good at blaming other people for my problems. You would not believe how good I was at blaming other people for my lack of performance, achievement, growth, success. It wasn't my fault. It was never my fault for anything. If I was late, it wasn't my fault. It was the traffic. If I didn't get my homework done, it wasn't my fault. If I didn't get the job done right at work, it wasn't my fault. I was so good at convincing other people, don't blame me, not my fault. And it took me a few years getting involved in entrepreneurship, getting involved in network marketing. It took me a couple years to finally realize that blame is a dead-end street. Blame is a dead-end street. The moment that you focus on blame, you take yourself out of your ability to have any control over your life. The moment you take yourself out of the ability to be happy, out of your ability to be in charge, in control, and you give control to whatever it is you're blaming. So if you blame the economy, oh, it's the economy's fault. Well, then the economy has to change for you to be happy, you to be successful, you to be productive, you to be whatever. If your employer doesn't change, if you're blaming your employer, if your employer doesn't change, then you can't be happy, you can't be productive, you can't be successful, you can't be expected to win, nobody can blame you. If your spouse doesn't change, then you can't be successful. If the president doesn't change, then you have to be successful. And it's just fascinating to me that we live in a society right now in the middle of this epidemic where everybody is absolutely determined to blame something. They just have to. I gotta blame something. It must be the president. It must be testing. It must be the China outbreak. It must be Italians' late response. It must be travel. It must be the lack of masks. It must be we don't have enough hand sanitizer. It must be toilet paper. That must be it. We got to blame something. We have to blame someone. And guess what? We're in a situation that's going to be challenging and really challenging for the blamers. For the professional blamers, you're in for a difficult time because you're not going to be able to be in control of your life until something outside of you changes. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't hold people responsible if they've made mistakes or our leaders haven't done what they should do. We should hold them responsible for sure. But here's what we need to do. What I learned to do to change my life, that helped me go from being out of control to in control, is I learned what successful people do versus unsuccessful people. Unsuccessful people blame and they stay there. Unsuccessful people give control of their lives to the actions of other people, happiness in their circumstance to the actions of other people. They give it away. And successful people do the opposite. Successful people say, I'm responsible, not for what happened. Nobody here is responsible for COVID-19, right? We're not responsible for that, but we are responsible for how we act. We are responsible for the choices we make now. We're not responsible. If somebody punches us in the face, we're not responsible necessarily for the punch in the face, but we are responsible for how we respond to the punch in the face. So there's going to be lots and lots of people that are going to be blaming. I watch friends of mine on their feeds on social media. That's all they do every day is they blame the decisions of others. They blame the government. They blame, response. They blame the lack of preparedness. They blame. And that's all they're doing. It's not changing anything. And they're going to stay miserable. Now, again, understand my distinction. Yes, we should hold people accountable for their mistakes if we put them in positions of leadership, 100%. But more than anything else, we need to take responsibility. Each one of you needs to take responsibility for what you're going to do for your economic well-being in the middle of this crisis. What are you going to do when it comes to social distancing between other people during this crisis? What are you going to do with washing your hands? What are you going to do when it comes to being positive for your family so they don't freak out and are stressed out? What are you going to do to be a beacon of light in a time of struggle for most people? What are you going to do? You need to take responsibility for your economic well-being. You need to take responsibility for your health. You need to take responsibility for creating a circumstance in your family. You need to that promotes health and isolation, but social distancing. You need to take responsibility for leading your teams in this moment. You need to take responsibility. And if you do, the moment you take responsibility, the moment you take charge, and if any of you are control freaks like me, take charge. Don't let someone else control your happiness. Don't let someone else control your productivity. Don't let someone else control your creativity. Don't let somebody else promote your work ethic or control your work ethic. You take charge. You take responsibility. Walk away from blame. Decide what you're going to do about this. Because when you do, one person has made a decision to take responsibility can change the whole world. So that's my message for you this morning. I hope I find you well in these crazy, tumultuous times. Do yourself a favor and do your friends a favor. Reach out to somebody that you love and you care about today and tell them why you appreciate them in your life. You'll be glad you did. I'll see you later. Take care, everybody.